Yeah, they decided to make retrains of a couple of classics. And I've seen these before, but I don't remember their effects. Like it's been a couple days since I've read these, and I haven't read all of them, and I haven't read them very thoroughly. But there's something that most of these cards have in common, which is that they are retrains of cards that at the time of their meta relevance were pretty broken. It's Dark Strike Fighter retrain. This is, I think, a Dark Matter retrain. Then there's a Kirin retrain and a Halka Fibrax retrain, which I believe all four of these cards have been banned in the past or are still banned for various reasons. And I think in the case of Dark Strike Fighter, it even got a text change to no longer be as broken as it once was. So on the one hand, I do think the idea behind this is kind of cool because, you know, giving they are iconic cards. They are iconic cards. So, you know, it's kind of okay. Or it's kind of cool at the same time. Dangerous territory. Dangerous territory. I really hope that these are not going to be as broke. I really don't remember what some of the... I don't even think I've read the Pendulum one yet, but yeah. Let's take a quick look. Infernal Strike Fighter is a level 7 Dark Machine Synchro. Generic. During main phase 2, quick effect. Destroy as many face-up monsters on the field as possible, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the combined original levels of those destroyed monsters times 200. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target a level 4 or lower machine in your grave, special summon it in defense position. You can only use each effect once per turn. This card, now that I've read it again, I do remember reading it for the first time. When I read it for the first time, I was pretty happy that it wasn't nearly as toxic as original Dark Strike Fighter was. Which, just in case you're not as unk as I am with Dark Strike. So Dark Strike Fighter used to be a generic level 7 synchro that was basically Cannon Soldier, not once per turn. Tribute a monster to inflict damage times its level times 200. Which is, I mean, you can see why that's a problem in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? When you can generically access Cannon Soldier from your extra deck, there's a lot of crazy things that are happening. Because, you know, a lot of FTKs are a lot more consistent if you can just access Dark Strike Fighter or Cannon Soldier from your extra deck every time. As well as just like the card was just good back then because it made OTKing so easily. Because you would just attack with a bunch of guys and then tribute them in main phase 2 to inflict enough damage. Which was, funnily enough, the original reason why it was banned, because of the OTK potential. But in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, I think the bigger problem with Dark Strike Fighter would be the FTKs, which this card kind of does fix that, right? Like, this card cannot be used to FTK. This card is only basically an OTK / board clear tool in main phase 2, which I think is cool, because this card is powerful, I think. You know, during main phase 2, you can make a Synchro 7 that is just a board wipe and does 200 and does a bunch of damage to your opponent, depending on what you destroy. And then it also brings back a machine from the grave just in case you're not burning for game, right? So I do think this is a cool retrain. And yeah, it's basically, in my opinion, this is what they should do more often with problematic Yu-Gi-Oh cards. This is why I was so happy when I read this one. Instead of, I'm not a fan of when they errata a Yu-Gi-Oh card. I think if a Yu-Gi-Oh card is problematic, it should just be banned. I don't like when they take away from the iconic identity of a Yu-Gi-Oh card by changing its text, because it makes for a lot of historic examples where they errata a card because it's too powerful at the time, but then when it eventually comes back, it's just completely and utterly unplayable because of the errata they did to it, you know, like Brain Control or Goyo Guardian or whatever. Like those cards, it's just like, you know, they change their text and then they eventually come back, but they're like just not the same anymore and they're unplayable. even if they had their original effects, those cards would be unplayable. But it has a lot of weird implications where like you have different versions of the card. So if you play them in Time Wizard, for example, like you're not playing the proper text, or when you're trying to play old formats in Master Duel, all of a sudden Yugioh Guardian, you know, much worse than it is. And so I'm not a fan of errata-ing cards in general. I'm a fan of retrains. If a card is problematic, or like if a card is being used in a problematic way that wasn't intended, or it's just more powerful than you thought it was going to be, I think just having the card be banned as long as it's a problem, and then just making a new card that does what you wanted the other card to do but more fair, I think is a better way of doing it. Of course, it does, like, you know, the ban list does get a little bit bigger with that, but you know, who cares at this point? The Yu-Gi-Oh ban list is always going to get bigger over time, so you know, whatever. And I feel like also Genesis format has kind of shown me that like people don't care if the list has 500 cards, you know, at least the people I talk to, or the people that I've been playing Genesis with, like no one cared. No, I've never heard the complaint of like, oh, the Genesis list is so long. Like if you care about the cards, just look it up. But yeah, anyways, I digress. This card is cool. It's a cool retrain of Dark Strike Fighter that preserves the initial use of the card, you know, go second OTK in main phase 2, without providing the FTK potential that Dark Strike Fighter have. So that's cool. Galaxy Ice Antimatter Dragon, level 9 Light Dragon Exceeds monster, 4000 attack, 0 defense, 2 level 9 monsters. Once per turn, you can also Exceed summon it by using an Exceeds monster you control with 3 or more materials. Transfer its materials. Any battle damage this card with material inflicts to your opponent is halved. You can detach a material from this card. This card gains the ability this turn to make up to 2 attacks on monsters. Then, if the detached material was a monster, you can send a monster with its same type from your deck to the graveyard. This card, on the other hand, when I read it at first, I wasn't sure about all the implications for this, but this card, in my opinion, just screams to be abused. In terms of like there's gonna be something. There's gotta be something here, because this card is super easy to summon. Basically, I mean, there's a bunch of ways to cheat the Exceed mechanic to a point where you can summon one Exceed monster and then put another one on top of it, and then just like summon this on top of that, and so on and so forth. And then you're gonna get a 4000 attack monster that can detach twice and Foolish Burial. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you cannot use this when you're going first. Because I believe if you don't have a battle phase this turn, you cannot attempt to gain the ability to make 2 attacks. I think this is, once again, it's Unk Josh at it, but I'm comparing this to Mermail Abyss Megalo back in like Mermail days, where I don't think you could use its effect to tribute a water to attack twice if you didn't have a battle phase this turn. So I guess that makes this card a little bit fairer, where you can't use it when you're going first, because that would have been super broken. Still, I think this is pretty good. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, if you can only do this going second, maybe I'm okay with it. Maybe I'm okay with it, because realistically, when you're playing into the board, is it really that problematic if you could summon a 4000 guy that can foolish a monster and attack twice? Probably not. It's gonna make for some good plays for sure. It's a good card. It is a good card for sure, because it also makes Big Zeus more easy, and stuff like that. The damage is halved, so it's not exactly an OTK tool. Yeah, that too. Yeah, no, actually, you know what? I've changed my mind. I didn't realize initially that you can't use this when you're going first. It's probably fine. Yeah, no, this one's cool too. Yeah, okay. I like it. I changed my mind. Wind Unicorn Parallel the Draco Slayer. Now, this is a retrain to Magispector Unicorn Kirin, which... Is Kirin still banned? No, right? Kirin is legal. Kirin isn't the problem at the moment, but it was once upon a time. Level 6 Wind Spellcaster Pendulum, Pendulum Scale 2. Pendulum effect. If you have a card in your other Pendulum zone, you can activate one of these effects. Special summon this card. Destroy this card, and if you do, special summon a level 5 or lower pendulum monster card from your pendulum zone. You can only use this effect once per turn, so in scale it can be a extender slash starter in a weird way as part of like 2-card combos, which isn't nothing too crazy here in terms of the scale effect. Monster effect. While this pendulum summoned card is in your monster zone, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. Also, it can't be destroyed by card effects. Quick effect. You can target a pendulum monster card you control and one card your opponent controls, return them to the hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. This is basically Kirin, but as a Draco Slayer, which I feel like could have some implications because it's got the Draco Slayer name, so Draco Slayers are gonna have access to it. Here's the thing, like, I've played against Draco Slayers in both TCG and Master Duel, but especially in Master Duel, the deck was a thing sometimes. I'll to say it lightly, I don't think that what Draco Slayers are missing is end board pieces or ways to summon more interruptions against the opponent. I feel like Draco Slayer, because the way I remember Draco Slayer is like when I hand trap them, they if I Max C or Fuba them, I probably get decked out, especially under Max C. Whenever I've done that, I get decked out. And whenever I don't hand trap them, their boards are always completely unbreakable because they'll always do some crazy stuff like your opponent cannot summon, your opponent cannot activate spells and stuff like that. So I feel like I don't know if one more Kirin is gonna make or break that deck, but I guess it's not a bad card. I think if anything, maybe the scale effect is the relevant one for Draco Slayers because it's like another Draco Slayer scale that summons more bodies, so it's easier to extend into Beyond or into Electromite if you're playing Master Duel where Electromite's legal for some reason. But yeah, it's hard for me to evaluate exactly what a pendulum deck needs to be viable in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, because I just don't really vibe with modern pendulum decks, because I feel like every time a pendulum deck, like a regular pendulum combo deck is played, it's always just like, in my eyes, it's always just like pendulum combo slop that all tries to do the same thing but slightly different, you know, whether it's a Morphage locking you out of the game or searching field spells that lock you out of the game like Necro Valley or Secret Village of the Spellcasters or whatever. It's just like, I don't know, man. And I don't really want to think about what they need to be playable because I don't really want that type of stuff to be playable. Yeah. Okay. And then we have Crystron Halka-Fibrax Prism. A Link 3 water machine that requires 2+ monsters, including a tuner. If this card is Link summoned, special summon a tuner from your extra deck in defense position with a level less than or equal to the total original levels of the monsters used as material. During your opponent's main or battle phase, quick effect, you can banish this card you control, special summon 3 Crystron tokens which are level 1, but they can't be tributed. You can only use each effect once per turn. So, this card, from what I've seen online, and I've only seen very few things, this seems to be the most problematic out of the bunch, because you're just like cheating out. The one I've seen most often is cheating out Denglong, and then just doing things with that. It's actually reading all of these one by one, and then this one being the last one, I feel like is kind of weird, because it feels like with the first, especially now that I've read them a little more thoroughly and I've like discussed them a little bit, it's like, okay, well, you've fixed the problems with the Dark Strike Fighter by making it main phase 2 only and not FTK material. You fixed Dark Matter Dragon by making it going second exclusive and only Foolish 1 card from your deck, and so on. Like, it feels like they've been careful with these cards, and it feels like they made like good Yu-Gi-Oh cards that kind of preserve the identity of what they're trying to retrain without creating something super broken. And then there's this guy, which is just, it's lacking every single thing that would make it a balanced Yu-Gi-Oh card. You know, there's no lock on here. It is super generic in all senses. I mean, you need a tuner, sure, cool. it can be used as link material, which is another thing that I feel like is kind of frustrating. Like if this card even said something along the lines of this card cannot be used as link material during the turn that you summon it. Like for example, they even put that stuff on Silhouette Rabbit, out of all things, you know, which is much less powerful than this. And so it's just a link 3 that cheats out a monster from the extra deck, that can then be used as link material for further like linking into a link 4 or anything like that. It is a 1-card link 4 also. Like you just summon out a tuner from the extra deck. Like in the case of Denglong, for example, right? Denglong, I believe, what is Denglong? It's like on summon it searches, and then when it goes to grave it specials. So like summoning this into Denglong just gives you 2 cards from your deck and the link 4 already. And there's probably more uses for this card. The new Dragoonity. Yeah, what was the new Dragoonity link 4 called again? Dragoonity Georgius. 2+ monsters, including a tuner. If this card's link summoned or your opponent special summons a monster, you can special level 5 or higher Dragoonity from your extra deck or grave. Your opponent cannot act. Yeah, okay, so what you're telling me is you make this, which cheats out a tuner, which then allows you to summon this because it's a link 4 that requires a tuner. And then the tuner you summon off of Halqifibrax probably like does a bunch of things as well. And then this summons another Dragoonity from your extra deck. And this is also an Omni negate no, it's a spell trap negate. Or yeah. Look, I don't even need to see the combo lines. I don't even need to see any replays to know that I'm not a fan of this card. I am not a fan of this. This feels like throwing all of the things that we keep saying, or all of the things that we should have learned by now about especially generic extra deck monster card design. It just throws it out of the window. It feels like you make Halqifibrax and you realize, okay, that card probably shouldn't have been made the way it was made, and so we have to ban it. And then you make this thing, which in most senses just has the same applications as Halqifibrax. Like, sure, it's a link 3 instead of a link 2, but what does that really matter? I've played enough Yu-Gi-Oh to understand that this card probably shouldn't have been made this way. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I have for Crystron Halqifibrax Prism. Does the tuner summon count as synchro or just special? This is just a special summon. So it's not a properly synchro summoned monster that you cheat out with it. But yeah. Funnily enough, I don't even know how much this does for Crystron. Like, is this even that good for Crystron? No, right? It's just, once again, and I guess they kind of nailed the retrain in that sense, because original Halqifibrax also did basically nothing for Crystron to make it meta or anything like that. It was just played in everything. Like, I mean, I'm sure Crystron played it, but no one played Crystron because of it. And so now, same thing, you know? Good job, I guess. Yeah, I mean, in that sense, good job, right? They've nailed the exact same vibe that Crystron Halqifibrax had with Crystron Halqifibrax Prism. Which, if that was the goal, then good job. However, it's not a very good vibe. It's not something that people wanted, but sure, here we go. Another card that may probably have to get banned in the future if people start comboing with it. Awesome.